It all started when my entitled mother tried to steal my house. Where do I even begin? Growing up, my mother had a way of making everything revolve around her. If I received a special gift for my birthday, she would find a way to claim it as her own. When I excelled in school, she would tell everyone that her influence was the reason behind my good grades. It was always about her achievements, her struggles. I learned early on to keep my head down and avoid confrontation, because arguing only led to her screaming fits or, worse, dragging my father into the fray. But this was a whole new level of entitlement. After years of hard work and determination, I finally managed to buy my own house. It wasn't extravagant, just a modest place I could call my own. I scrimped and saved, taking extra shifts until I could afford it. I was immensely proud of what I had achieved, but I made the mistake of sharing my accomplishment with her too soon. The moment I told her, instead of congratulating me or expressing pride, her first question was, "When can I move in?" I thought she was joking, but the seriousness on her face made it clear she was not. My stomach dropped. "You're not moving in, Mom. This is my house. I bought it with my own money." I tried to keep my tone calm, but inside, I was shaking. "Don't be ridiculous," she snapped back. "You don't need all that space for yourself. I've been struggling in my awful apartment for years while you've been out living your life. I deserve a nice place to live." At that moment, I should have known this was just the beginning of her entitlement spiraling out of control. I attempted to let it slide, chalking it up to her usual self-centered behavior. But a week later, I came home from work to find her standing in my front yard with a moving truck. "What the hell is this?" I asked, barely keeping my voice steady. "I told you, I'm moving in," she replied, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world, as if we had an agreement I had somehow forgotten. "No, you're not," I asserted, my voice rising. "You can't just show up and decide to move into my house. I didn't invite you. We never discussed this." She rolled her eyes, dismissing my concerns as if I were being unreasonable. "You're my son. This is my house too. I gave you life. You wouldn't even have this place if it wasn't for me." I was incredulous. "Are you serious right now? I worked hard for this. You didn't lift a finger to help me, and you didn't even support me when I was saving up." Ignoring my protests, she began unloading boxes, acting like my words didn't even matter, as if the decision was already made. To my utter disbelief, she had even brought my father along, who stood silently, staring at the ground, spineless. That's when I finally lost it. "Get the hell out of here. I'm not kidding. You're not moving in. This is my house." I could see the familiar rage building in her eyes, but I wasn't going to back down this time. She stormed off, muttering about how ungrateful I was, and that she would fix this. I had no idea how far she would take it, but I should have known better. A few days later, I received a set of legal papers. My mother had the audacity to claim ownership of my house, arguing that as my mother, she had a right to live there. She painted me as a deadbeat son who owed her for years of raising me and demanded that the court decide her fate. At first, I thought it was a sick joke. There was no way this was real. But there it was, all official. I was furious. Who does this? Who goes after their own child's home like that? I called her up, not even caring that I was on the brink of exploding. "What the hell is wrong with you, Mom? You're seriously trying to take my house?" She didn't sound surprised at all. "I told you, I deserve it. You're being selfish. You don't need all that space. I've earned the right to be there." "No, I bought this house with my own money. How can you think this is okay?" "We'll see what the court has to say," she replied, hanging up as if she'd just won some twisted game. My blood boiled, but I was determined not to let her win. It became a long, grueling battle, filled with months of back and forth between lawyers. My mother played the victim card hard, telling anyone who would listen that I was heartlessly kicking her out onto the streets. Some relatives even sided with her, claiming I was an ungrateful son who didn't care for his own mother. But here's the thing. She didn't have a leg to stand on legally. The house was mine. My name was on the deed. I had every right to evict her, and I refused to let her guilt me into giving in. Finally, the day of the court ruling arrived. The judge ruled in my favor. She had no claim, no rights. She had to leave. I remember standing there as the eviction notice was posted on her door. The look on her face was priceless. Pure shock, disbelief that I had actually done it. She tried to cry, claiming I was heartless and abandoning her. But I had reached my breaking point. "You did this to yourself, Mom," I told her as I watched the sheriff escort her out. "You're not my problem anymore. You'd think that would be the end, right? That after being evicted, she would finally leave me alone. Nope, not her. She started showing up at random times, banging on the door, screaming that I owed her something. It was as if she couldn't accept that she had lost. I had to call the police on her more than once, and each time they dragged her away, only for her to return a few days later. It was exhausting. I ended up installing cameras, not out of obsession with technology, but because I couldn't trust her not to do something drastic. I half expected her to try and burn the place down out of spite. Eventually, after a few more run-ins with the law, she disappeared from my life, as if she had never existed. Good riddance. You'd think my family would be on my side after everything, right? Wrong. Some of them actually blamed me for not taking care of my mother. They couldn't seem to grasp that this woman had tried to steal my house. They acted as if I was supposed to just hand it over to her because, well, I'm her son. After that, I cut ties with many of them. If they were going to side with her, they didn't deserve a place in my life. It's been a year now, and I haven't heard from her since. Sometimes, I wonder if she's out there plotting her next move against me, but honestly, I don't care anymore. My house is mine, and I'm finally living the life I worked so hard for. I'm done with her for good this time,